Good evening. My name is Olaf Klein. I'm here as a banking leader for DACH region, and I want to give you some insights about Bitcoin, and not really Bitcoin in the sense of a currency, but in the sense of the technology and the currency, which has implication. And I show you some slides about that, and I want to give you a little bit an idea what is behind such a Bitcoin approach which you have right now. The funny thing of banking, for example, today is that banking still works like the technology of the 70s. And I wanted to show you a little bit with the sand sticks. You see the sand, and each and every one is a bank. So bank A or bank B, and they all count what comes in, and this is a little bit like a sand pillar. Yeah? And the only thing what they do with the banks, they do regularly, they look into their books and say, okay, I have about 1 million cent picks. And then he asks the other one, what do you have? I have also about 100 million cent picks. And when they are both fine, they're fine, and then the trust is there, and based on the trust, they are sure that both sides have the same account statements. That's the principles we have right now in banking. And now I show you a picture. What is the base for the Bitcoin themes technologies? You will laugh a little bit, because this is a stone. This is a stone in the Pacific, on a Pacific island, and this community there, they use these stones, which are not moved, as their currency. So now you would say, hey, what's the difference? Why do we have sand on their side and there are the stones? But the owner of the stone is not what is inscribed here on the stone. It is known by the community. So that means if I, for example, would buy from you a car, yeah, and you give me this car, and then I say to you, okay, now this stone is yours, yeah? Then we speak to the community and say, this stone is now his car, because his stone, because I bought the car, yeah? And this information you spread in the community, so the community knows at the end, yes, he's the owner of the stone because he bought the car, yeah? That's the idea which is underlying, technology-wise, on Bitcoin. So the difference between the traditional thinking, in the sense, and the Bitcoin is that you spread the information into the community. And that's the main difference. And that's the disruptive part of this Bitcoin stuff. And you can symbolize it with the stone. Yeah? So, now I can give you some more history, but I don't want to go into this. This is all when it started. It started in 2008 with this guy Satoshi Nakamoto, who no one knows really who this is, but it isn't really important. And then based on that, came then also some official documents, publications, and that's the funny thing with it. When you think in this different approach of knowing who's the owner of a value, yeah, then you think, okay, this is another approach than we have till now, yeah. For banks, say, okay, I trust a bank, and a bank trusts another bank, and they synchronize each other via traditional methods. This is the way which you have then, for example, in Visa in the same manner. And then, based on that, you then have different ideas of this approach, and this one here is then the Bitcoin approach. That means you push this information out into the community. I push my information that the value is transferred into the community. Yeah? Different approach. So how you can do this and what techniques are there, I don't want to go too much in detail, but I want to show you some example or some consequences out of it. It is a completely open account handling, per se. Yeah? So right now, no one can look into an account at the bank. You, as the owner of the account, you can look, but no one else. Yeah? You push payments by design, or you push a value transfer by design. That means if you send the information out that you got now the stone and I got the car, the information is gone. That means you cannot cancel this contract afterwards. And when you think more precisely, you might have, sometimes I have to cancel the contract. For any reason, I did a mistake. I put the wrong number in my account transfer statement, for example. Yeah, this is by design not part of this solution, yeah, or of this concept. This is more regarding the currency, yeah, which is a Bitcoin as a currency is a fiat currency, so it's called. So it's not a natural, it's not a currency which is held by any institution. It is a currency where you give a value to because of the amount at the beginning, because of the power of calculations which were necessary, but now because of the trading, because of the amount you think this is a value for. And the rest comes on top of it. So when you think further, you push the information about a contract at the end. So when we come again to this example, yeah, I got the car and you got the stone for it, yeah. You can do this with any sort of information to push it out, and when it's gone, it's gone. And then, therefore, you have also to make it with contracts, with currencies, with anything you want. The most popular thing using this sort of technology is, of course, Bitcoin as a currency. Yeah, but I spoke about the abstract level, which is something like have contracts between different systems at the end. When you think of Internet of Things, you have the same ideas. You have to synchronize contracts between individual machines in the sense of who is the owner of a specific information or who is the owner of a specific relationship. Yeah? And then you can use the same technologies in the Internet of Things to spread the information of contracts between machines, whether they can interchange information or not. Yeah? So on an abstract level, also a contract, yeah, which you then spread. And funny thing, and this you might heard or saw about, a couple of regulators think about to use the Bitcoin technology or the approach of having a public ledger or distributed ledger as the base of their own currency. Yeah? And these are the official examples. So two countries, for example, who look into this and think about it. And as an aspect of it, Bitcoin is one of these aspects. I don't know whether you also know Ripple or you heard about Ripple, which are then on a continuum of technologies on another edge. I can describe it a little like that. Typical core banking, what we have right now, is this piles of sand, yeah, where you synchronize this. This is a typical centralized approach. Ripple is a little bit decentralized in the sense of that the trusted intermediaries are defined. Bitcoin is, there's no defined way between intermediaries. The consequence is that the Ripple transaction, until the information of a Ripple exchange or a Ripple contract is spread into the universe, is in best case some seconds. For Bitcoin, because there's not a trusted chain in this, it can last up to an hour. So remember, you spread the information out, and until each and every has this information, it can last up to an hour in the actual implementation of this technology, to be honest. Yeah? And this is the continuum what you can think about. Yeah? Just to give you another number on this. In the Swiss value chain, which is where we are on the Swiss market very proud on, we guarantee that when you buy a security on the stock exchange, it can be settled within 15 minutes and paid. That means if you would use a Bitcoin technology for the same approach in Switzerland, we would have a less service level agreement. Because, as I mentioned, it takes about an hour until each and everyone knows about the transaction. Yeah? And that's also the aspect when you compare a little bit the different technologies. It's not really a clear way together. So SWIFT is the international or the old-fashioned way of doing money transfers or value transfers, yeah, based on this approach of these pillars of sand. And then you have the Bitcoin or even the Ripple way, where you see here the seconds, and this actual volume just gives you an idea about it. Yeah, and when you just use this abstract or this abstract approach of having a contract, then you can think about all these possibilities of such contract approaches. And then you just need to think about what are the different players you want to have in your picture. Whether you need a central bank, for example, when we put our typical understanding of a currency into this model, then you would need one central bank which somehow guarantees, for example, the value inside. Yeah? Or if you want to completely distribute, each and everyone can put a share out of this into the world. So that's a typical, or these are then discussions which are, of course, based on this. And to remember, Bitcoin is then 4 different aspects. Blockchain technology, which I mentioned, which is then the base for the so-called distributed ledger. Yeah. The mining, which is then what we think is the value of it. Then you have the value, the trading of this currency, which is then, of course, was mentioned in the newspapers. And then you have this Bitcoin ecosystem, just about $300 million US is as venture capital right now out. And to give you another number in comparison, right now we have 300 million venture capital funding in the Bitcoin industries. To change into a new SIG-4, which is right now on the way, the estimation is to invest $1,500 million. Yeah, just to give you a figure. So these are official figures which were last year in a master thesis calculated. So you also see, even when we think about as a Swiss community about using something like investing there, we could think about new ideas with the same amount of money. But that's just a side effect. Any questions? That's the market. Originally, it was power. The question was, what defines the value right now? Originally, it was the power you needed to produce the value. Yeah. But then afterwards, you have now exchanges where you can buy or sell bitcoins, and so the value which you have right now in the market is really what the people think the value should be. Yeah? It's not guaranteed. There's no guarantee. It's just the thinking. Yeah? And of course, there's a community behind which thinks that to have a currency which is not guaranteed by any legal authority is good. That's the idea behind the Bitcoin as a currency. Yeah? Yeah?
Maybe last year, so that was the top of the hype for Bitcoin, but banks are already investing in the technology, analyzing it and trying to figure out how to use it. Why was this adoption so fast? Because banks are usually, well, I've heard rumors of banks still with Java 1.4 because they don't trust the new version, stuff like that. So they are moving very slowly. Why are they so fast with Bitcoins? What's in them, in Bitcoin for them?
Yeah, you must distinguish for what they are fast for. To be honest, Bitcoin is a hype in the internet, or it was a hype in the internet, it was a hype in the press last year. So a bank or banks which show that they are innovative want to somehow work with it. They want to avoid that someone else is doing, from a long-term perspective, their business. Yeah. So, and the easiest thing is you do it. You go into this business. Of course, there's still not really a bank where you can have your values stored in Bitcoins. There's still startups, so you have to still go to any startup to store it. But at least the transfer of the money, so the trading of it, is of interest, and this is quite simple for a bank to go into this area. Yeah, that's the one. That's the currency aspect or the value aspect. The other thing is the technology. Yeah, so this distributed ledger approach. This is a completely disentangled discussion because this lasts longer. Yeah, and this is what the obvious discussion is. What I showed you that some current countries are looking into it, but the inobvious is what you do with this technology in a bank's context. That's not clear. Yeah.
Countries consider to get an inspiration from the Bitcoin technology, but countries sometimes want also to devaluate or valuate their currency. In that system, it's impossible.
No. You mix it up. You have the value, yeah, and you have the technology. When you have, for example, a Swiss National Bank who guarantees this is the value of this amount of coins which are in this community, then this is the value giver. Yeah? And how you distribute the information is completely different. And that's the Bitcoin distributed ledger approach. And not in every country we have such sophisticated systems. So that means for a country who does not have all these systems which are connected here in Switzerland with SIX and all this, the rest, and the banks which are interconnected, it is easier to base on this technology of distributed information than to build up the centralized old-fashioned thinking. That's the approach on it. And then you guarantee you still have a guarantee of your currency as a value, because there's an official body behind, the regulator behind. Yeah. So you cannot mine these values.
Okay, maybe one last question because we are behind schedule. Something about the technology side. If I understood you well, then your account records, let's say, some recorded in the virtual reality by using some computers.
Mm-hmm. Now, each and every connected computer knows each and every booking.
Yeah, but these books, let's say, these virtual books, are recorded at computers somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Who owns by these computers?
This can be everyone. So if you want to spend money and want to invest in a computer, and then you connect to the network via the trusted way, then you are also part of it. Yeah.
But there's still, okay, then something is. I think there is a link to the legal part, because if I'm the owner, then I'm the force behind the law, and if not, then somebody else, like IBM or Amazon or not.
No, because when you are connected to this trusted distributed ledger network, you just have a copy of all the transactions. You do not own this transaction. You just have a copy of it. And the Bitcoin technology guarantees that each and every one has the same information. Yeah? It's a completely different question how you make money out of it. That's a completely different question. But the technology for itself guarantees that each and every one knows about each and every transaction. Yeah? Good. So this from